Let me put you on the spot, doctor. Now we're on this. You knew or you've known President Bola Tinubu for quite a while. Of course, you are in the same party, the Action Congress of Nigeria. Is this the same person you know? Is this the same Bola Tinubu you knew? If not, what has happened? What do you think happened? And do you still have access to him to pull his ears? You remember 2023, people asked President Obasanjo, why are you backing Peter Obi? He said on record that because he's able to pull his ears. What happened? Is this the Bola Tinubu you know?
Well, I've been asked this question severally.
Please, I need to know. It's very important. Nigerians
as National Secretary of the AC and later ACN, we have worked very closely together. We have traveled together, we have spent nights and days together, we have struggled as opposition party, remember.
Exactly.
We have done a lot of work and things together. And my impression, the impression I had then, was that this is a Democrat, this is a patriotic Nigerian who wants to free the country from dictatorship, install democratic values, promote sustainable democracy, and fix the problems of this country. Even before coming to power during the APC, the way he supported the Buhari government, I wouldn't do that. I didn't support Buhari's government. But the point is, he came across as somebody who was the right kind of person to. It has turned out to be completely different. And I'm still asking the question myself, what happened to him? And honestly, if I have my way, I will ask for a psychiatric review.
Seriously?
Because the transformation, from what I used to know him to be to the current one, where he's basically a monarch. And I understand he's very fond of saying that the buck stops here.
This is Naija Unfiltered on SYMFONI TV. My name is Olawale Oluwade, and my guest today is a distinguished elder statesman, Dr. Usman Bugaje, founding National Secretary of the Action Congress of Nigeria, a leading member of the Arewa Consultative Forum, Northern Elders Forum, a public affairs analyst, a development expert. I could go on and on. Doctor, nice to have you on the show.
My great pleasure.
You're welcome, sir. This is your debut.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Without further ado, let's get on with our conversation. Let's start from the Court of Appeal judgment yesterday, where the decision was handed down that the court affirmed the earlier decision of the High Court that INEC should not recognize the Congress is conducted by the NWC led by David Mark and Marek Beshola. There are mixed reactions there and there as to the extent of that decision. What's your take on this, sir?
Well, it's not surprising. We should all see it coming, and I think this has been the patent of the current APC government, tampering, interfering, sometimes openly using institutions that are supposed to be neutral, like the judiciary, and sometimes very surreptitious, undermining and doing everything to clear the ground for their candidate. In other words, they are using what is called war by other means to ensure that they have the advantage. It's more than an advantage, because when you clear the whole space, then the question comes, who are you really competing with? I mean, in a democracy, you have to, allow ideas to compete. It's a pity our own kind of democracy has deteriorated and degenerated to a level where we speak of personalities, we speak of tribes, we speak of regions. But essentially, democracy is at its best when it becomes a competition of ideas. You are looking at better ideas. 10, 15, 20, or whatever number of candidates come forward, offering themselves to make your country better. You listen to all of them, and you now pick those ideas that appear better for you. But at the moment, the candidates, most of the candidates, are not actually known for any particular idea of development.
All of the candidates?
Not all.
Okay.
Most of the candidates are not known. You cannot, for example, let me give you an example. If you look at anywhere in Europe, take Germany, take France, take Britain, the established parties that are there, the moment you take a member of that party, you know exactly the economic policies. At least you know the thrust. You may not get the details because the details are dynamic.
Yes.
They respond to stimulus.
Exactly.
They respond to
emerging issues.
To challenges. But you know the thrust. You know the direction, right? You know their views on LGBT.
Their philosophy
you know
of
their
governance.
views on a number of other issues, right? So you can say that you can define them. There is content. But take any of our parties today. It would be very difficult for you to say this party stands for particular thing. Let's start with APC. If you ask yourself or ask anybody on the street, okay, APC, what does it stand for? What is its economic philosophy? What is its social philosophy or social policy? What is its view on agriculture, science and technology, critical infrastructure? These are things that not even the president, I think, can articulate. Nobody there can. So basically, when you pull back and really ask yourself, so tell me, what are they doing there? What do they really want to do? Then it comes to you. What comes to you is the 210 trillion that is missing. 8.8 trillion that IMF said has also disappeared from the Nigerian economy. You look at what the chief of staff is being accused of, stealing, and all these 54 billion was the last cut that he's supposed to get from a deal. And before then, there are other billions and God knows trillions. So you ask yourself, so what are these people really doing? They have no direction that I can really see. So basically, they are there to steal. Now, most of other parties are likely to be in the same mode. Why? Because when you ask yourself, what do they represent? Take any party. Take the PDP, whichever faction. What do they really represent? What are their ideas? Take yourself, the leaders. When you speak of the leaders of these parties, what comes to your mind? I don't even remember their names, but pick anyone. Ask yourself, who is he? What has been his life? What has he contributed? How can you relate him to the problems of this country? What of the many problems we have, what has he been championing? What has he been addressing? All these things, at the end of the day, my sense of it is that people are in politics not to fix our country, but to fix themselves, to essentially steal as much from our resources and have to be happy ever thereafter. Meaning they have stolen enough, they have built houses, mansions, fat bank accounts. For them, they think for the rest of their life and their children, and they will have no problem. At the expense of the country, at the expense of the poor, in thousands and hundreds of thousands, in millions, dying of poverty, unable to pay for medicines, in the hospital. unable to send their children to school, unable to feed. And this is their resources you're stealing. Look at the lack of consciousness, the lack of conscience, the way these people. So really, coming back to your question, what do I make of it? Everybody expects that the APC government, because it has shown, and this is one evidence, is going to use the judiciary. I'm not saying all the members of the judiciary are corrupt, but certainly a good number of them appear to be corrupt. They are going to use the police, they are going to use the army, because I know that they use the police to come and take over, a political party, an opposition party. They use charlatans, they use mercenaries, and they are doing this to a number of parties, SDP, PRP, now, NDC, now ADC, using institutions of state that are supposed to be completely out of politics. They are supposed to be the institutions that we will rely upon as a country, really to stabilize. They are supposed to be the last resort of the poor and the oppressed. And now they are siding with the powerful and the government and the rich. And so very soon, if this trend continues, you will not have a country.
This is very alarming, Doctor. This is very alarming.
Here we are.
It's very alarming. The omens are evident. I mean, we can see the signs everywhere, But, Doctor, I mean, you were the founding National Secretary of the Action Congress of Nigeria. Was it always like this, that the institutions of state, critical institutions of state, become so manifestly partisan? Was it always like this?
No. There were always certain level of interference, but it never got to this level. And just for the records, when the AC was founded, Alhaji Bashir Al-Hatu was for a few months the National Secretary. I took over because of certain circumstances. He left, and then I was appointed, and I ran through a whole term of nearly 4 years. But coming back to the point, the situation was daring, because you remember we formed the AC then, before it became ACN, that's Action Congress, before it became Action Congress of Nigeria, basically under the dictatorial rule of Obasanjo. And we were basically trying to find a way of, so the new president that Obasanjo installed, even though of blessed memory, and even though he had shown sign of obeying or going by the rule of law. You remember he was the one who set up the Late Ways Commission to review the electoral. Exactly. But even then, sadly, the presence of government was something. And during the period of Goodluck Jonathan, even those of us who were out there criticizing Jonathan's government, we were always able to talk to people in their government. I mean, I would be on a show like this, air my views that could be quite unsettling to the government, but I can still walk to a government office and speak to somebody who is in charge of some institution and still come out free. Meaning that there was a lot of decorum, there were restraints, there were respect, for institutions, which is not quite long ago. I mean, basically a decade plus,
Exactly.
But I think the deterioration started with the APC of General Buhari. I mean, we could see the then Attorney General, under whom was the EFCC, was using the EFCC to pursue what he thought or what they think were their enemies. And I have a lot of evidence for that. So the point is, things were not as bad. But with the coming of the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I mean, things have taken a terrible turn. We never thought that this country would pass through. These were the kind of things we used to see in what was called the banana republics, where presidents basically rule like monarchs or dictators, and they sort of make institutions of state like their personal offices, and they just do things that are bizarre and out of this world, and no institution can challenge them. I'm glad that I had the National Assembly, I had the BBC. One of them was criticizing, and my sense is that because they were bribed with constituency projects, and now they discovered the money was not coming, and now they're up against him and talking about bringing him to the National Assembly to speak, which they ought to have started with. So I'm making the point that when the institutions are not properly greased, they are not getting the money they are expecting, I'm sure they will wake up to their responsibilities. So it looks to me that what we have basically now are basically a bunch of opportunists who see governance as the great opportunity to make a lot of money, and that's what they seem to be focusing on. And they think they are above the law because they have controlled, they have put the law under their own control, they have put the judiciary under their own control, and therefore they can go ahead and do. Now, this is just the beginning. Wow. And this is why it is very important that we wake up to reality and see how we can salvage our country. Permit me to make a footnote here. You see, all this mess is going on because the elite have allowed it to continue. In other words, the elite have become complicit by their silence. Everybody stays in the comfort and privacy of his home and complain about lack of electricity and lack of internet and lack of water and lack of security. Fair enough, these are all true, but then as elite, they won't come out to even demonstrate. They won't speak out like some of us are trying to do. You won't find them in any, because they have somehow a way of putting some solar panels, so they have money to make borehole, so they can manage. So what the elite are doing is tiptoeing around the problem. They don't address it. They don't talk about it in public, and yet they complain. Everywhere around the world where there have been changes, it is the elite. Because the elite are more aware, they are more conscious, they can articulate their problems. They know where exactly what is going wrong, and they should. So I'm still hoping and praying that the elite of this country should stop that complicity and complacency. They should come out and speak out and be prepared to really dirty their hands in salvaging their country. If they don't, you have to remember what happened to Liberia. Some of us are old enough to remember Liberia. In 1983 or thereabouts, I was physically there, and subsequently I was there a number of times, and I listened to what actually happened. And that was exactly when things were deteriorating, the elite simply moved out of the country. They moved to the neighboring countries, they moved outside those who, and what happened? The state collapsed. And Liberia is still struggling,
to find its feet.
And why it pains me is because the whole of the African continent are looking up to Nigeria. Nigeria holds a great promise for Africa, in fact, for the world. because in the next 25 years, this country is going to be over 400 million by
Exactly.
UN projection, and is going to be the third largest country after India and China. So the world is waiting for Nigeria to wake up and to provide leadership. And here we are down, taking the country down the drain, destroying our country because the elite have kept quiet. And the political operators have become reckless and irresponsible. All they do is stealing public resources that are there for the poor and the downtrodden who are dying, who are being killed because government has not lived up to its responsibility.
Doctor, critics have, said that the APC ruling party and their government is totally disconnected from the everyday reality of the majority of Nigerians in terms of insecurity, in terms of mass poverty, standard of living and all of those. Can you, in a few minutes, give us a brief assessment of this government, 3 years in office?
Well, I have done that severally in different ways, and I don't claim to know the government enough, but I can speak to the things that I see, and everybody's feeling the heat. I start by the provision of the Constitution that is very well known and very well talked about. The governments are there precisely to do two things: to secure and to provide welfare of the nation.
Constitutional provision.
Yeah, these are constitutional provisions. The resources of the nation are meant to do just that. Now, if you start from that, you would see clearly that they have failed in providing security. They have failed in providing any welfare. If you look at the level of poverty at the moment, 63% it says, but even this kind of metrics does not speak to the daily realities, because it's usually given by World Bank, IMF, United Nations, UNDP, maybe the National Bureau of Statistics, and they have to redefine even the metrics by bringing what they call certain indices that will capture the inability of the poor to pay for medicine, to pay for school fees, to pay for these. And you can see the number of out-of-school children rising. If you go to any petrol station, especially outside Abuja, especially in the north, you will find that the number of beggars in the station are more than the number of people trying to buy fuel. You go to the market, you go to the restaurants, you go to everywhere. The whole country is begging. And these insensitive, reckless political leaders are busy assuring us that everything is okay. How can everything be okay when the number of people who are dying in the hospital, is increasing, and some will die because they cannot afford 5, even 1,000 to buy medicine? How can things be okay when people who have been displaced by bandits, they have not been given shelter, they have not been given food, they have not been given schools? In my local government, for nearly 10 years now, schools in certain places have completely closed.
What local government, sir?
GBA local government.
What state?
In Katsina State. For nearly 10 years, schools had closed. And I know even from my village and neighboring villages that have been sacked. And, no government is taking care of these people. And this is a daily business, not only in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Kebbi, in Yobe, in wherever you go. Now it has gone right down to the south.
Absolutely.
Look at the kidnapping,
Absolutely.
of school children. And I thought this government should be ashamed of itself. But they have the temerity to come out and say that we are doing well. You start wondering, is it contempt for us as citizens, or is it some subclinical mental disorder that they are going through, some schizophrenia? Otherwise, the realities are there. So, to answer your question, and you really don't have to go very far, just ask yourself, tell me one good thing that in the last 3 years this government has done. I've searched myself, and I cannot find any tangible.
So let's talk about shrinking civic space, the hounding of certain opposition figures. Omoyele Sowore is being moved from one courtroom to the other, ostensibly because he made a comment that was deemed to be cyberbullying. So he's been tried under Cyberbullying Act, and he was sent to jail, granted bail, and all of that. Of course, the case is still ongoing, but they keep bouncing him from one courtroom to the other. If he gets bail from the ICPC, very stringent, some even say quite unreasonable, unmeetable bail conditions. And then another, maybe EFCC will pick him up again right on the court, the courtroom doorsteps. So, can you speak to this, Doctor? What's going on? Is this really?
Well, this is
this fighting crime, or is this just silencing opposition?
Well, these people are not Democrats. They may have claimed to have once been on democratic platform. This is what dictators do.
Wow.
And unfortunately, they don't read history. Because dictators who shrink and squeeze
Civic space.
the civic spaces don't always get away with it. It comes sometimes with a big bang. It has never succeeded. And I had occasion about 2 years ago to remind them about the case of Fujimori of Peru. He did exactly what they are doing now. And when the end came, he had to run away himself. And he was eventually caught, and he was prosecuted, and he was taken to jail, and he died in ignominy. And that is what is waiting for anybody who tries to do the kind of thing they are doing now.
We have experiences in Nigeria, in just recent memory.
So my point is, what they are doing is, for me, a sheer stupidity. It's not going to stop people from talking, and it's not going. In fact, it's better you allow people to talk. When they don't talk, then they must be doing something else.
Exactly.
And democratic culture demands that you give people fair hearing. The law itself, that the law we are operating, demands that you give people fair hearing. And you go by the rules. If you are not prepared to go by the rules, and if you use your position in power to intimidate, to oppress, to bring, to be tyrannical, then you should wait for your own consequences. Assuming you kill all the opposition, right? You have the power to kill them. You have the power to do everything to them. So what are you going to do? You're going to live forever? So these are things that really make me want to understand what runs into their mind. Because it sometimes occurs to me that these people are sick. And if they were to have good relatives or good friends, honestly, they will take them for a psychiatric review.
Wow. This is the second time you're saying this.
Yeah, because honestly, I can't make sense. We have seen, a lot of them are about my age. We have seen a number of these things through, and some of them were comrades and colleagues in the struggle against the military, and when politics or civil rule returned, we are also part of the same team trying to fix this country. And to see these same people now turned into big thieves and big, reckless, tyrannical, anti-democratic, you start wondering what went wrong. Something must have gone wrong. I don't know what it is, but sadly, it's something that's worrying.
Let me put you on the spot, Doctor. Now we're on this. You knew, or you've known President Bola Tinubu for quite a while. Of course, you are in the same party, the Action Congress of Nigeria. Is this the same person you know? Is this the same Bola Tinubu you knew? If not, what has happened? What do you think happened? And do you still have access to him to pull his ears? You remember 2023, people asked President Obasanjo, why are you backing Peter Obi? He said on record that because he's able to pull his ears. What happened? Is this the Bola Tinubu you know?
Well, I've been asked this question severally.
Please, I need to know. It's very important. Nigerians need to know.
As National Secretary of the AC and later ACN, we have worked very closely together. We have traveled together. We have spent nights and days together. We have struggled as opposition party, remember.
Exactly.
We have done a lot of work and things together. And my impression, the impression I had then, was that this is a Democrat, this is a patriotic Nigerian who wants to free the country from dictatorship, install democratic values, promote sustainable democracy, and fix the problems of this country. And I recall that he would normally have a book near him reading, because some of us coming from an academic background, we do a lot of reading. We engage on the basis of ideas, and so he came across then as somebody who reads, somebody who is interested in ideas, somebody who is prepared to do what we needed to do to fix this country. I mean, that was what the impression I got. But since, even before coming to power during the APC, the way he supported, the Buhari government, I wouldn't do that. I didn't support Buhari's government. I came out to really point to the terrible things that Buhari's government was doing, for which, as you know, I was called severally by the security agencies at different levels. It's always my pleasure to meet them. So
you became very charming with them.
It's okay. I mean, it's good to engage them.
Exactly.
Some of them I met have conscience. So when you really speak to them, they realize that this is wrong, but they are in a position where they have to solve. But the point is, he came across as somebody who was the right kind of person to, but it has turned out to be completely different. And I'm still asking the question myself, what happened to him? And honestly, if I have my way, I will ask for a psychiatric review.
Seriously?
Because I mean, the transformation, from what I used to know him to be to the current one, where he's basically a monarch. And I understand he's very fond of saying that the buck stops here, and that he is the man who decides what happens and he gives orders. As a Democrat, you don't do that. You are not a monarch. You are not a dictator. You consult, and it is the engagement with people. You persuade people. Democracy is about persuasion. I mean, power in democracy is based on persuasion, because you persuade people to vote for you. You persuade people to implement the policies. You explain to them. None of this that I have seen.
You lobby.
There is no persuasion that I've seen. There is no explanation that I've seen. There is no remorse for the terrible thing that they have done. There is no sign that they are even going to listen to anybody. They are on the high ground where they, control all the levers of power, and they want to do whatever they want to do. I ask them to ask themselves, for how long and at what cost, and what are the benefits to them?
Let me dig deep for just a moment. Could they have been playing all of that? Could they have been putting up a charade, just playing to the gallery?
Well, it's a possibility, but I'm not in a position to really, to do that. If you get psychiatrists or clinical psychologists.
Psychologists.
They would be able to figure out
What really happened?
what type of subclinical mental disorder they might be running through. Because honestly, I can't understand collecting money that even your grandchildren would not, need. What at what cost? And then people are being killed daily, and you don't seem to care. And you make careless statements that really show that you are not just complacent, but you are also actually complicit. It is as if you are working with all these people that are draining this country, and it's very sad.
Doctor,
very sad.
Does it not say a lot about the quality of leadership that we have at the different centers of political power? Because we claim to be practicing the democracy. Many have argued otherwise, and I would want to think that they are correct. Take the National Assembly, for instance. 109 senators, 360 House of Rep members, and they seem to have totally kowtowed to the whims and the caprices of one individual, or so it seems. What could be responsible for this? I don't want to talk about the judiciary, where we started from, that also seems to have fallen under the spell of an individual.
Okay, I'll be a little more cautious. Even if the majority of judges are corrupt, I always want to say there may be few, and I think there are few, but there must be very clean, courageous judges. The same with the police, the same with the other institutions. There must be. So we always need that footnote to underscore the struggles that some of these people do in their own institutions, because they can't be popular if they do not do.
They are the silent minority.
Exactly, and sometimes they are themselves, their lives are in danger.
Endangered.
Because people around who are doing the mess will not be comfortable with them. So we salute them, we appreciate what they are doing, we encourage them to continue, because at the end of the day, they will be the ones that are going to sustain. Falsehood, recklessness doesn't sustain. It is honesty, it is a staying power, that resilience that actually sustains. So yes, when you speak about the quality of leadership, and I think that's the point you are making.
The National Assembly.
It's a reflection of the party that gave them the ticket to run. When you have a party that is empty, that doesn't represent anything, it will attract anybody. And these are the kind of people that we have. Because ask yourself the questions, what do our parties really represent? Look at the characters that are running the party. A lot of them are crooks and criminals. Look at their records. And therefore, these people who have failed, or let me put it this way, these people who actually represent nothing and have no content as to exactly what kind of, which direction, in fact, the country is going to run, they will attract similar people whose idea of being in government, whether in the National Assembly or as commissioners or is just an idea of how do you make money. They feel it's an opportunity to simply grab, the national resources. And so these are the kind of people. Many of them have not gone to school. A lot of them actually have false certificates. A lot of them, I don't know the percentage, but I like to think that over 50% of people who are holding political offices in our parties now, both state, local government, are on drugs. And this is why you cannot even rely on the quality of their mind to take sound, and the responsible decision. Because a lot of the time, really, they are not themselves. And I wish NDLA will run a random test for all people, holding political office and publish it, because they are public officers. They should be able to do that. They won't, because they will not allow them to. They will sack the person, whoever, and they won't be happy with what I'm saying. But I had occasion to speak, because with my little pharmacy background, I had occasion to when I was given opportunity to speak about drug issues in this country, to say that in my estimation, nearly 70% of people who are holding offices, political offices, executive, National Assembly, national and state levels, local government, nearly 70% are using one drug, or the other. I mean, different level of narcotics, are being, abused. And this is why they are not even stable. And they are not coherent when they speak. Because, that level of coherency, consistency, and focus of what you're doing is the characteristic of a sound mind. A mind that has come under drugs loses a lot of its own capabilities. And then you find that the focus is not there, the coherency, the logic, and it becomes some level of sickness.
Let's talk about these allegations that you referenced earlier, Doctor, about the chief of staff. A gentleman, well, maybe not so gentleman, a certain Adeniyi Adeyemi says he paid bribe of 400 million rand to get a job as Director General of a fake, in inverted commas, agency. Of course, it was the chief of staff that gave him that appointment. And the presidency denounced him, called him a con man, a fraudster, that no such agency exists. But the agency got budget line approval, they got officer at the Federal Secretariat, they got staff deployed to it, grade level 17 director, assistant director, all the works, from the office of the SGF. This guy met everybody that needed to be met with. And the list goes on. Met National Assembly members and all of that, took pictures with Deputy Speaker, House of Reps, even the EFCC chairman. They got between, took the bribe and gave to the chief of staff, died mysteriously in a fire incident in a hotel. I just learned again that the hotel itself has been raised down, pulled down, and all of those. Doctor, when this news broke, what came through your mind? How do you read this?
I told you, Olawale, I wasn't surprised.
Wow.
Because there are a lot of these things that are going. Some have not yet become public. And there is a total, if you like, the whole APC has become a cartel. People are stealing resources of this country left, right, and center. And it looks like all they do is steal. So when they build roads, what they make out of that project is more than the road itself. When they do any other project, this news that I read in the newspaper about 70%, so maybe the average is 60, 70% of whatever resources that is out there for, goes back to private pockets. So the point is, this is just one of many incidences. And it speaks to the total lack of potency of the National Assembly. Because the moment this happens, because it touched on budget, the National Assembly would be the first to call for, set up a committee of inquiry and invite all these people. Because they are the only institution that constitutionally can approve budgets. Budget is the law made by the National Assembly. So if there is a crime committed within, they will be the first to react. But I have not heard anything from the National Assembly, in this respect. And some of the things I know people who run government agencies complain from the National Assembly. If you're any agency and you want to do anything, they will insist that they have to give you, you have to give them slots for jobs. I find that very crazy. It's okay, you want to help the people who represent you. Help them with projects, improve agriculture, improve critical infrastructure so they can job and productivity. But if you ask these young people, because you have a slot, how are you sure that they are qualified? So if you are bringing unqualified personnel in government jobs, simply because you come from their constituency and you think you are helping them. You are not helping them. You are destroying them, you are destroying the country, and you are failing in your job, in your duty that you owe to this country, for which you are taking a very fat salary. So it's all messy. And this is why we need to come back and fix our politics. This kind of politics that we play, that is empty, that is motivated by greed, that is out to destroy institutions and to operate as if there is no law at all in this country. This is the one politics that is going to destroy this country.
This matter you just talked about now, let's round up on it maybe in a minute or two. The president eventually caved into public outcry. He reluctantly instructed, which is, is a bit odd, because the anti-corruption agencies did not need to wait for the president for them to be activated to do their job. But eventually the president said, okay, investigate this matter. But the chief of staff, who is the principal figure in this entire sordid affair, still sits pretty in his office. What do you expect from this investigation, if anything at all? Do you expect anything from this? And what should be the ideal? Doctor, I need you to recommend what should be the ideal.
It is the total failure of governance that is exhibiting itself, that the chief of staff, the president of the National Assembly, the EFCC, everybody is doing what it wants. And everybody is trying to see how do they really make money. So this kind of, every institution you go, if you hear the stories that are what ministers do in their ministries, the Minister of Works, for example, the FCT minister seems to be above the law. He's doing almost anything he really wants. And, but for that Navy officer, exactly. I hope he's still in the service, that really challenged him. Nobody really came out. And if you listen to Chidi Odinkalu, he said the whole judiciary, in fact, went to his office. That never happened. So it's all messy. There is hardly any. And this, for me, speaks to a very fundamental thing, that we have got to return this country on the path of rule of law, because that has broken down completely. It doesn't matter which government comes. If we do not focus on returning the country on the basis or on the track of rule of law, and ensure that democratic values guide governance, then I'm not sure we're going to have a country. And so I much as I feel it's right to look at particular cases, but I think we should remember that these particular cases speak to more fundamental issues. And we should not lose sight of these fundamental issues. How do we really return this country to rule of law? How do we really fix our politics? Then we fix our economy, and then we fix our society. Because like I said, the world, not just Africa, is waiting for Nigeria to really rise, to really wake up. I see people struggling to have to be president, to have to be vice president, to have to be this, to have to be that, and all these people, when you sit with them, they'll tell you the country is really badly run. This is why I'm running. Okay, if indeed your intention is to really, can't you make more sacrifices? Can't you say, okay, I'm prepared to drop my candidature. I'm prepared to bring in someone who can do this work better. I'm prepared to support him with all my strength so that this country becomes better, because that is what is at stake now. Not that XYZ becomes president or vice president or governor or this. And if we are not prepared to do that, we're actually helping this rotten government. Because the more divided the opposition is, the easier it is for government to claim that they have won the election. So I think we need to reflect more on what is it really that we need to do to salvage our country at this critical level, of its development.
So as we begin to prepare to wind down, I want you to talk maybe for a minute on, you've spoken variously or repeatedly about the falling standards of the judicial system. I know you spoke like a minute earlier on, but what can we do to remedy the judiciary? Because that's the proverbial hope of the last hope of the common man.
I'm not a lawyer, and I think lawyers, I've seen, his name is Faran Tomi, one very articulate.
Dele Farotimi.
Yeah, very articulate lawyer. I've had my presidential candidate, Adebayo. I've had Chidi Odinkalu. I have had a number of people. All these people have great ideas of how to fix the judiciary. I would rather speak about what I think is the big issue, which is a moral crisis. This country is going through a very deep moral crisis. And I remember Dante Alighieri, the author of the Divine Comedy, one of the heroes of the Enlightenment. He said, among many of his quotations, those who seek to be neutral in times of moral crisis will find themselves at the bottom of hellfire. The point he is making...
Dante's Inferno.
Yeah. The point he's making is that the elite cannot be neutral. You can't walk away.
So silence in this era is criminal.
Or stay behind and say, well, these people are very bad, they would destroy. Okay, fine. But what are you doing? Are you just watching? You have got some level of knowledge. You have the awareness. You have the health. You have the ability. It's something that each and every one of us can do. But more importantly, I don't know if the youth will hear this. I think if my generation have failed and are not prepared, I think the young people of this country should rise up and take back their country from a gang of thieves who have taken over their politics and are destroying their country for them.
And their future.
Their future, of course. So I think they should really decide in this 2027 election, it's going to be their election. And they should figure out among those who are out there who really they should support. And I would rather they support younger people like them who can really relate to them and who can stay in the struggle for longer. And I think this is the kind of the reality that we require at the moment.
Doc, it would be remiss if we don't talk about the role of the governors, because this president, with all the challenges and all of that, claims one of the good things he would claim is that he has made so much money and is giving the governors so much money.
Now let me correct.
What is the role of the governors?
Let me correct that. He did not give them any more money. He simply devaluated our currency, and therefore, when the money comes, it looks big, but it doesn't buy you anything. The purchasing power has actually fallen. So I think we should correct that.
But sir,
he has not given them more money. Now tell me, just one moment, Olawale. Yes, the governors have a lot of money in their hands, and they are buying cars, and they are building mansions, and they are doing everything because their state assembly are just a bunch of idiots sitting down there doing nothing, collecting pittance from these people. So let's take the battle where it is. It is their state assembly that should control them. And they should have civil society. They should have the ulama. They should have the clergy. And if they all keep quiet, senior citizens in their states, if they all keep quiet, then it's not just the governors that are stealing. The other people who are complacent are also part of the blame. Yes, the governors are doing a lot of atrocities, shutting down. They just arrested one of the activists in my state, Dr. Bashir Kurfi. And they are doing similar things in similar states, and they are evading the issues and doing all sorts of... Yes, but it is the responsibility of people there to rise up, to the occasion and to tell them that you cannot continue to do that. If we are not able to do anything, we should do that, during the election.
So is there anything the North is doing? And I use the North generically in terms of the leadership of the North, political leadership, sociocultural leadership, traditional leadership, intellectuals such as yourself, what is the North collectively doing to tackle the twin devils of out-of-school children, which is a pipeline, supply pipeline for banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, and then maternal and infant mortality that is so astronomical, the levels of it. What is the North doing?
Well, you are basically touching on health and education,
Absolutely.
which is the
The
basic,
core of
the
human development.
foundation of human capital,
Exactly.
and the foundation of the future of any society. Now, you have a lot of platforms. Some of the platforms are independent. Some of them are not. Some of them wait to see where government is going so they make money. Some of them rise up to. So, yes, you have a number of platforms. You have a number of youth groups, and some of them, again, are floated by politicians so they can promote their bad governance and try to launder their image. So there are lots of these problems, but there are pockets where work is being done. I give you an example of the AFAC Educational Foundation. They have spent like 3 years researching this issue of out-of-school children, looking at the curriculum, looking at the social context, looking at how to fund these schools, looking at the skills that they require. I mean, a study was done in 3 volumes. And this study was to be presented at a summit where the traditional leaders will come, the religious scholars will come, the clergy will come, the National Assembly will come, the agencies of government and their ministries will also come, so that we now put everything on the table. That never happened because the traditional institutions, the ulama, the clergy, up till now they have not seen sense in making this a priority. But the commission that you now, the Al-Majri Commission, for example, the law that established it was picked out of the report of the legal committee of this work. The point I'm making is that we have done all the work that is needed. The policies are very clear. We are waiting for a sensible government or a sensible elite to really promote it. So there is a lot that is being done. In the health sector, there are similar efforts that have been done, and it's all waiting for a responsible government that will provide the funding to the correct policies to get these things done.
It would be remiss if I don't ask you about state police. Do you believe or support the idea of community or state police as it's been championed now by the federal government? And
I don't.
Really?
Yeah, because the whole idea is stupid. Look, ask yourself, what exactly, and this is a basic philosophical question that you use to test policies. What exactly is the problem for which state police is the solution? Ask yourself, what is that?
Because crime and criminalities are local. So you
Right.
need policing at the local level.
Very good,
to address
very
it.
good, very good, excellent. Now, ask yourself, why is the current police not addressing it?
No, the national police we run, number one, they don't have the numbers. Number two, poorly kitted, poorly funded, and all of
Okay,
those.
let me remind you, almost every 5 to 10 years, there is always a commission for police reform done by a former IG. I've known about 3, and there may be more than that. That of Kumasi, that of MD Yusuf, that of, I think even recently, I don't remember the names of the former IGs. These things have not been implemented. If you do state police now, I'll tell you what's likely to happen. You know, some of the states have done this vigilante, right? I mean, state vigilantes to support the same thing that you are saying. In my state, I understand from my relatives, for 6 months, some of these people have not been paid. And they are there with the gun, with the training, with the uniform, and they have no money. So they've become the new frontier of crime. Is it what you want us to repeat? What guarantee do you have? Even as IG, we are struggling to make sure that the president does not appoint the IG. It's the parliament that will appoint it through a process. This has been, this has not worked. You think the state governors will allow someone to to appoint the head of the police for them? So they will choose a thug who will do their thuggery. Why do we want to repeat what we have already seen? It's not. The time is not ripe, and I think the philosophical foundation of this idea itself is faulty, because we can fix the police. We haven't done so. And I can see what's likely to happen. I'm worried, but I don't support the idea.
We'll come back another time and examine this critically. Doctor, do you think this INEC, can conduct free and fair election? The current INEC under Professor Josh Amokwita?
It's a tricky question, because there are good people in INEC and there are terrible ones in INEC that receive instruction. And INEC itself is in a turmoil, struggling. Those who want to do things right are stamping their foot, and those who are agents of government are getting the encouragement from government to do what they are doing. And we can see it from the in connivance with the laws and the litigations. My party, the SDP, suffered a lot. They have to go to court, Supreme Court, I think twice, and a lot of it. So there are lots of worries about whether really INEC can do that. Now, the important thing is I think that the head of INEC should know that his responsibility is not to the government that appointed him, it's to the Nigerian citizens. And if he makes the mistake of thinking that by prodding or doing what the government wants, he will have a good end, then he's making a very big mistake. I would say that there is a lot of things to be worried about, the way INEC is conniving with courts and denying parties their slots to upload their this and that, and there are all the evidence, if you like, of political interference with INEC. It's still time for him to extract himself from what we all see happening to come out. If he doesn't, until the campaigns start and the elections, then whatever happens to that government is going to happen to him. It's going to happen to INEC. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know the future, but I'm worried looking at what has happened in other countries around the world.
The northern region was credited with almost over 60% of the votes that put President Tinubu in office. Does he still have that following in the north?
Well, ask the north then.
I'm asking the north here. I'm asking a major leader of northern Nigeria. Does President
just look at the songs that the young people have designed. I mean, everything is pointing to the fact that the north has never been as angry with any government like this particular government. Or people are abusing this government daily and praying against it. So I don't think, and they know that. I'm sure they know that. I'm waiting to see how the campaigns are going to be done, because then people are going to react.
But
I know people are not just the north; the whole country is angry.
Shettima has been chosen again as running mate. Isn't that cheering news for northern Nigeria?
It's not, because since he has been the vice president, what has he been allowed to do except to do condolences or to attend a few things? So what is there? I think it's a shame, really, for the president, to be treating his vice president the way he did.
Do you have any fears, Doctor? Any fears of President Tinubu's continued or elongation in office beyond, if he wins in 2027, and then he's supposed to terminate in 2031, 2 4-year terms? Do you fear he may stay beyond 8 years?
I don't fear, because the country is not going to allow him to.
You think so, sir?
I was a veteran of fighting the Obasanjo third
term.
Obasanjo was in a much stronger position. Oh yes, the National Assembly today is not the same National Assembly that we were there, but even then, I don't think the country will accept it. I don't know what's going to happen. But you see, I mean, there is a limit to thuggery. There's a limit to stealing. There's a limit to irresponsibility. There is a limit to recklessness. Let them do whatever they want to do. Let them kill some of us who are out, speaking. But they will not get what they want, because it's not in the human nature for things to continue deteriorating without people reacting. They will react. I don't know how, I don't know when. But you cannot continue doing, messing up, people, and then, think that everybody will sit down and keep quiet. If you think the people who are out there making problems, you think they are doing problems, making things difficult for you, and you want to eliminate them. Let's see if you are going to get what you want.
Are the opposition doing enough, in your views? Some have said by dividing themselves, unable to come together, the opposition.
No, I told you that the opposition, for me, should wake up to a more serious responsibility. How can they work together to stop this mess? I'm worried that some of them are actually looking forward to an opportunity to do exactly what this government is doing. I know them enough to say so. And they are in the opposition, so I don't expect them. But I know that within the opposition, there are people and groups that are genuinely looking for an opportunity to fix this country. Now, those that are in that category should be able to come together. They should be able to merge their candidature. They should be able to do whatever it takes to work together so they can salvage the country.
Realistically, Doctor, final question, can President Tinubu still be defeated in 2027?
He has already defeated himself, because he has not offered anything to warrant a re-election. What has he offered? I'm genuinely looking for what is it that I can say. But I can count a dozen terrible things that this government has brought. So really, I don't see. Of course, he can rig the election. He must be good at doing that. So let's see what's going to happen. Yes, they will pay poor people money. They have already started paying money to the clergy, to the ulama.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Wow. I've received reports from people. Some have been paid just to keep quiet, not necessarily to campaign, So it's easy, right? If you don't say anything, just take this money and just keep quiet, right? So maybe, but you see, you can't continue doing the wrong things and still hope to succeed. It's not in the nature of life itself, you can't be feeding and poisoning your body and hope to live long, right? And therefore, the time will come, So I don't think defeating him is a problem. He has already defeated himself in a democracy, in a proper democracy.
Nice place to anchor, Dr.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure listening to you, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
My pleasure.
I'm sure we'll see you again, sir.
Thank you.
Before the elections. We'll see you definitely.
Thank you.
Nice coming, sir.